Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So this isn't really part 5 of this Squier Bullet upgrade. We've been working on this in the past 4 episodes and I'm pretty much done with it. But I did promise you a little bit of a test, so I want to go through and show you what some of the upgrades did in terms of the passive resistance of this humbucker and some of the settings. And I'll bang on it a little while and you can hear my rather untalented playing. Now the other thing that we're going to get into this episode is a couple of additional Squiers that I want to try to pick one and upgrade it. And I want to get away from this single humbucker model and away from this fixed bridge and do a more traditional 3 single coil and tremolo build. So that'll be a little bit of a twist on this. I've got a couple of candidates for that upgrade, but in the meantime, let's get started by testing out this pickup. So to start out with, when the humbucker is in its normal position, so it's just a standard humbucker, that's when both these switches are down, and you can see the passive resistance on this humbucker is 7.85. Now again, if you follow this build, you remember this is a Gibson 490T. It's an okay humbucker, but it's not super hot. Now the switches I wired in are a coil tap and a series parallel switch. So let's flip the coil tap, and you'll see the resistance cuts in about half. So you see it go from 7.8 to 3.9. And if I put that back and I flip the second switch, this is where things get interesting. So when the coils are no longer in series, they're in parallel, you'll see the resistance of the pickup is 1.99, or right around 2 kilo ohms. Interestingly, if you flip this other switch while this parallel switch is up, it doesn't do anything. It just stays in parallel mode. So the coil tap is not completely independent of the other switch. The other switch kind of is an override for the whole thing. Alright, well that's enough measuring. Let's plug this thing in. To let you know what the settings on my amp and everything are, I just have it set to a really low gain setting. It has a little bit of gain in it. You might hear it break up a little bit, but it's not a lot. I really wanted you to just hear the clean humbucker sound. So let's try a few kind of open chords and I'll show you where things are. So we'll do open chord with the humbucker normal, open chord with the coil tap, and then open chord with the parallel switch. So really what you can tell is that the open chord when the humbucker is in its normal mode is darker and fuller. And when you split the coils, it sounds more single coil like, and that's not unexpected. And at this point, you really can't tell much difference in the parallel setting, but it sounds more like a single coil than anything else. Maybe something I can do to show you how that parallel setting and maybe even the coil tap affects the normal sound the most is by just letting a chord ring out and flipping the switches in the middle. So here's an open A. That's the tap. And that's the parallel. Let's go backwards. I'm going to start with the parallel. Tap. And humbucker. Let's try a chord in reverse, just so you can sort of see the difference. So here's the chord, an open A with the parallel mode engaged. Hear the brightness. Now here's the split, or the tap. Even brighter and less thin. And now here's the humbucker. And that's where you really get the bottom end. So just so you can sort of see what it sounds like where you're playing a few notes. So that's the humbucker. That is the coil tap. And that's the series parallel switch with it in parallel. So you can see, I guess really, that the parallel mode breaks up a little bit sooner than the one where the coil tap is engaged, but obviously the full humbucker sound breaks up a lot sooner than any of it. And I know this isn't the best demo, but hopefully I'll pass this guitar along to somebody who can give it more of a workout than me. And real quick, before I go and grab the other guitars, one thing you should have noticed is that this guitar makes absolutely no sound. I mean, it's like dead quiet whenever everything's in its normal setting. I don't know, I attribute that to the humbucker and all the shielding that I did. It's a very simple set of wiring, but I'm really impressed with the noise control. Moving on with the program, this is candidate 1 for the upgrade, and this is a Squier Bullet Strat, and it's just a little bit different than the one that I started with on the other build. So obviously the other build had a single humbucker and it had a fixed bridge. Otherwise, they're very similar. It's almost the same neck, other than the fact that the tuners are slightly different. They have different heads, and the logo is slightly different as well. The body, obviously this one has a monster logo. Actually, just truth be told, this is a sticker overlay, and I guess that's how they made these promotional guitars from the factory. The sticker ends right at the edge of the body here, and this one is not in great shape. There's a few areas where it's scuffed, and there's a few areas where it's peeling. So I think I'm a little bit sour on this guitar just because of that reason. And also, the pickguard is a single layer pickguard. I don't think there's anything special about the pickups. We'll take some measurements on those. I guarantee you it's got really bad pots and really bad switch, so I'm not even going to take it apart. But let's go ahead and get a couple readings on the pickups and just see what we're starting with. Alright, so here are the passive resistances of the pickups to start with. The neck pickup is a 3.3 kilo ohm. Middle pickup, almost 3.5. Bridge pickup, almost 3.5. So they're probably all the same pickup, just in different locations. We'll go ahead and take a look and see if it has reverse polarity in the middle position. And that might tell us a little bit more. Okay, so the polarity, neck pickup is south up, middle pickup is north up, bridge pickup is south up. It does have reverse polarity, so some noise canceling is probably going on in here. They're not very hot output pickups, they're very low output actually. This guitar has the same neck as the other Bullet Strat, so the same specs on it, same number of frets, same radius, and the body is exactly the same thickness. It's a thin body, so it's about 1.6 inches thick, which is about a 40 millimeter body. I can't really say anything negative about this candidate except for the fact that it has been through the ringer. The previous owner obviously drug it around. It's got a couple broken strings. It's really dirty, and it's kind of scratched up on the back, at least on the bottom edge. So those are some things that it has against it. It's a 2013 model, so it's a little bit newer than some of the ones I've been working on. And it's complete, so it's got all that going for it. But let me show you the other one because I'm getting a little bit of a been there, done that vibe with this one. Well, here's the other candidate. This is an HSS model, and it's a Squier Strat Affinity. So it's not a Bullet, and I really honestly couldn't tell you what the difference between the Bullet specs and the Affinity specs are. But perhaps this is maybe not a plywood body. I guess we can see when we open it up, but I would imagine that's the only difference because I can feel a slight difference in the weight, but I don't know if it's due to the body type. There's a little bit more meat in the headstock because it's got a 70s style headstock, so there could be some weight difference there. It's got a humbucker, so maybe there's some weight difference there, but who knows. Let's go ahead and get a couple of pickup readings off of this one too, just to record for my own interest. Then we'll talk a little bit about what I could do to this one. Okay, so neck pickup on this one is 3.5K. Middle pickup is 3.4K. So I can almost guarantee that these two pickups are exactly the same pickups that are in the Bullet. Humbucker is a little bit hot. It's 9.1K. On this one, the neck specs are basically the same except for the headstock that I mentioned, but the tuners are quite different. The tuners are those two-post tuners that actually don't show a screw on the backside. So that's a little bit different of a job to introduce some new tuners. Don't know exactly what I'm going to use yet, but I've got a lot of options. Again, it's a single ply pickguard, and it's got, I'm sure, the same mini pots for the volume and tone controls, and it definitely has the same switch. It seems to have a little bit better tremolo, and that may be due to the fact that it's a 2007 and it's not a Bullet. So I don't know which of those two factors accounts for more of the difference in these guitars, but they definitely are different. The thing I like about this guitar, even though it's a 1.6 inch body, or basically a 40 millimeter body, it's got a little bit nicer finish on it. It's got kind of a metallic red sparkle to it. So this one's kind of calling my name. I think this is going to be the subject for our next upgrade. Alright, well, having decided on this one, I hope you guys can stomach another build like that. It's going to be a couple of episodes, probably several episodes, and we're going to be throwing some different parts at this one and hopefully come out with just as good of a result as the first one. This series probably isn't going to be my next video to come out though. I've got at least a video or two that I want to try to put out in the interim with some different guitars, and hopefully I'll get started on this one before the end of the month. All right, well, I appreciate you hanging out with me for this sort of a part 5 episode to the series, and I hope you guys look forward to the next episode. If you do, be sure to subscribe. I love it when you guys give me those likes in the comments. I appreciate you using my Amazon links, and I'll see you guys next time.